My husband, who once suffered from a broken heart after his first love disappeared 10 years ago, now had her back. She threw herself into his arms, tears welling up, and he gently comforted her. She then turned to me, feigning pity. "Now that I'm back, are you going to divorce her? Tell her to move out?" She thought I was merely a replacement, a shadow my husband sought to fill the void she'd left in his life. But she had no idea that all the splendor he currently possessed was thanks to me. Hearing her words, my husband immediately pushed her away, and my in-laws' faces darkened. I stepped forward and slapped him. "Clean up your mess, then come find me." My husband's ex-girlfriend returned. The first sight that greeted me upon entering the house was a tearful, emotional reunion. A petite girl was tightly embracing my husband, weeping uncontrollably. My husband gently stroked her back. My mother-in-law stood beside them, wiping her tears, continuously murmuring, "It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back." The four of them stood together, looking like a complete family, while I felt like an outsider. I calmly placed my limited edition Hermes bag down, asking as I did, "Who is this girl?" At my arrival, the entire room seemed to freeze for a few seconds. My husband, how, instinctively wanted to push her away, intending to explain to me. But my mother-in-law spoke first. "Neen, you're back. This is my best friend's daughter, her name is Lan Chu. The poor child suffered so much, it took her ages to find her way back." At this, she sniffled, on the verge of tears again. Lan Chu, I had heard that name before. Before marrying Hao, I had thoroughly researched him. He had a childhood friend, a very close one, but they had never been truly in love. Hao had told me he only saw Lan Chu as a younger sister, with no other intentions whatsoever. 10 years ago, Lan Chu's parents died during a trip. She was abducted by human traffickers and had been missing ever since. My in-laws felt immense guilt over this and had continuously hired people to search for her whereabouts. I looked at Lan Chu, intending to offer a word of comfort, but her eyes, fixed on me, were filled with hatred. It was as if I had stolen the life that rightfully belonged to her. I chuckled, swallowing the words I had intended to say. I calmly watched her clinging tightly to my husband's arm, her eyes glistening with tears, her voice weak. "Brother Hao, who is this woman?" Hao said. "This is my wife, Neen Lam. You should call her sister-in-law." Lan Chu's expression immediately changed, and she demanded in a shrill voice. "How could you marry someone else? What about me?" Her lips were pale as she weakly wiped away tears. "Should I not have come back, so as not to disturb your happy life?" My mother-in-law quickly embraced her, comforting her. "What are you saying? Your parents are gone, from now on, I will be your family. Consider this your home, I will love you like my own daughter." Lan Chu looked at Hao with teary eyes, asking softly and expectantly, "Really, brother?" Hao also gently nodded, reassuring her. "Really? This is your home. You're my younger sister. We're all family, don't think of yourself as an outsider anymore." Lan Chu looked at me, a flicker of triumph in her eyes, as if she were the true victor. How boring. I had no interest in this, so I simply sat on the sofa, eating fruit prepared by the maid, treating it as if I were watching a play that had nothing to do with me. Seeing my lack of reaction, Lan Chu assumed I was scared and silent. She suddenly spoke. "Brother Hao, now that I'm back, are you going to divorce her?" As soon as the words left her lips, the living room fell into a strange silence. Lan Chu wasn't immediately met with a response from anyone, a hint of displeasure flashed in her eyes, and she added, "Brother Hao, you once said you'd marry me when we grew up." My mother-in-law forced a laugh. "Little Lan, what nonsense are you talking about? Are you taking childhood games of playing house seriously?" Hao pushed her away, his face drained of all color. "Don't talk nonsense. Neen and I are very much in love, there's no question of divorce. Little Lan, Hao only sees you as a biological sister. Don't speak carelessly," my father-in-law said sternly. The three of them looked at me in dismay, as if afraid I would get angry. I chuckled softly. It was clear how cheap Lan Chu's tricks were. My indifference didn't mean she could do whatever she pleased. I stood up, walked leisurely to Hao, raised my hand, slapped him, and coldly said, "Clean up your mess, then come find me." With that, I turned and walked away like a queen, my high heels echoing on the tiled floor, revealing no hint of heartache. I walked straight into the 3-story villa next door, spanning over 1,000 square meters. The front garden was filled with rare and vibrant blooming flowers. All these flowers were brought here because I loved them, meticulously cared for by the gardener. As soon as I entered the house, the maids bowed in unison. "Young mistress, you're back." That's right, this was my parents' home. As the only daughter of the Lin family, the wealthiest family, I had been pampered like a princess since childhood. But as the sole heir of Lin Group, I had never neglected the skills I needed to learn. Love had never been everything to me. That year, Hao's sincerity and ambition moved me, and he also passed my parents' strict scrutiny, which is why I chose to be with him. The maids quickly prepared all sorts of pastries I liked, bringing them to me to eat. Another person gently massaged my shoulders from behind. She had been professionally trained in massage, her touch was just right, relaxing me so much that I couldn't help but close my eyes and enjoy it. It's true that being at my parents' home is the most comfortable. As for Lan Chu? A tiresome green tea girl, not worth my attention. I was about to head to the swimming pool in the back to relax my body when Hao and my in-laws arrived. "Neen, please don't be angry anymore, okay? Lan Chu and I really have nothing going on, and I've never thought about divorcing you," Hao quickly explained as soon as he saw me. "The doctor said she's psychologically affected, that's why she's saying all sorts of random things. Don't mind her." My mother-in-law also took my hand and added, "Neen, little Lan is a pitiful child. She was sold by human traffickers into the mountains, forced into marriage, gave birth to 2 children, was beaten every day, never had enough to eat or warm clothes to wear, and lived a miserable life for nearly 10 years. It was so hard for her to escape. So I just want to compensate her a little materially, but I will absolutely not let it affect your relationship with Hao. She truly had a tragic fate," I thought to myself. If Lan Chu had accepted her place as a daughter of the Wang family, I wouldn't mind sheltering her, treating her like a younger sister, ensuring she had a prosperous life. But clearly, Lan Chu didn't just want to be a daughter of the Wang family. She wanted to be the daughter-in-law of the Wang family. The ambition in her eyes couldn't be hidden. Seeing that my in-law seemed sincere, I smiled. "But it seems she doesn't like me very much, so I'll stay at my parents' house for a few days." "How can that be? You're a member of the Wang family, why would you always stay at your parents' house? Besides, your parents aren't home, I won't feel at ease with you here alone," my mother-in-law disagreed. How decisively swept me up in a princess carry. "Wife, if you're not home, I'll lose sleep." He carried me back to the Wang family home just like that. As soon as we reached the living room door, as expected, I caught Lan Chu's envious gaze. Her hands were clenched so tightly by her sides that veins protruded. I originally didn't pay attention to Lan Chu, but she kept circling around me, causing trouble again and again. It was my habit to drink a bowl of bird's nest soup in the morning, it's good for the skin and nourishing. Lan Chu, with tears streaming down her face, cried like it was raining. I thought I'd never eat a full meal in my life, and I never knew what bird's nest tasted like. My mother-in-law immediately felt heartbroken and consoled her. "All the past is over, from now on you can eat whatever you want, you'll never be hungry again. If you like bird's nest, I'll buy you some to eat sometime." But Lan Chu's eyes were fixed on the bowl of bird's nest in front of me, and she said pitifully, "Isn't sister-in-law eating it now?" My hand holding the spoon paused. Was she aiming for my bowl of bird's nest? My mother-in-law forced a smile, trying to appease her. "The bird's nest your sister-in-law is eating is Java cave swiftlet's nest. Her father ordered it from abroad, it's extremely rare." Lan Chu pretended to be innocent and asked, "Sister-in-law eats such good bird's nest, but doesn't share it with auntie?" Auntie is her mother-in-law. As soon as she finished speaking, the dining room suddenly became suffocating. I slowly stood up and pushed the remaining bird's nest in front of Lan Chu. If you like it, try it? After all, if she didn't mind leftovers. Lan Chu thought her attempt at sowing discord had succeeded, and a triumphant gleam flashed in her eyes. She deliberately put on a docile act. Good things should, of course, be prioritized for elders. She wanted to appear filial, making me look selfish and uncaring. Unfortunately, her scheme failed miserably. I went upstairs, and soon after, I heard Hao's displeased voice. My mother is allergic to bird's nest, don't say such unpleasant things. Not long after, I changed into new clothes and came downstairs. Hao immediately came over and took my hand. Neen, you look so beautiful in those clothes, where are you going? Shopping, I replied coldly. Take this card, buy whatever you want. Hao handed me a gold card directly, his eyes filled with gentle affection. Lan Chu's eyes were red with envy, but she still tried to maintain a sweet expression. It's been 10 years since I've been shopping, I wonder how Hai Tan has changed now. My mother-in-law's heart softened again. How about you go with your sister-in-law? I'll come too. Hao, you drive us. Okay, Hao turned and whispered to me, while we're at it, pick up the gown we ordered earlier. Lan Chu quickly cut in, holding Hao's arm as if deliberately showing intimacy, then even snatched the front passenger seat in front of me, smiling provocatively. I just shook my head slightly, turned around, and went into the garage to drive out a pink Lamborghini. I really didn't understand what was so proud about grabbing the front passenger seat. As soon as she saw my car, Lan Chu's face turned pale. Sister-in-law drives such a luxurious car? I've never even seen one in real life. Shall I let you look a few more times? I retorted with a slight smirk, then, ignoring her distorted face, I floored the accelerator and drove away in style. Hao wanted to go with me, but unfortunately, my mother-in-law was still in his car. At the mall, I went straight in through the VIP entrance. Lan Chu tried to follow that way too but was stopped by security. She pointed at me in dissatisfaction. Why are you stopping me? Does sister-in-law not want me to go shopping with her? My mother-in-law pulled her in. Neen is a high-level member here, spending over 10 million yuan a year, so she naturally gets to use the VIP entrance. It's normal for security not to recognize you if you follow behind. Hearing about the annual spending of over 10 million yuan, Lan Chu's face twisted with envy, but she still had tears in her eyes. I didn't know sister-in-law spent so much. In the village I lived in before, I'd never even seen 100 yuan. Implying I was wasteful? I chuckled. My mother-in-law felt pity. Alright, don't talk about the past anymore. If you need money, tell me, I'll give it to you. I looked at her, smiling but not smiling. Don't worry, those things are in the past. Now, your card probably has more than enough money to spend, right? As soon as Lan Chu returned, my mother-in-law had told Hao to give her a card with a balance of over 1 million yuan. And she was still here acting poor with me? Her face stiffened, but she still tried to look pitiful. I just fear that this current life is a dream. And one day I'll wake up and be back in that hellish small village. I couldn't be bothered to react. I went to the private counter to pick up the custom-made dress I had ordered. This was a handcrafted design from a high-end designer. Each dress cost over 1 million and took 3 months to complete. Miss Lam, do you need any further alterations? The staff member carefully held up the dress, politely asking for my opinion. Lan Chu stared at the splendid and expensive dress, her eyes clearly showing greed when she heard the staff member quote the price. But on her face, she appeared hesitant, and only when my mother-in-law spoke did she cautiously open her mouth. Does sister-in-law know? What do you want to say? My mother-in-law asked, confused. Lan Chu wrung her hands, her face full of pity. There are still so many women and children in this world living in suffering and misfortune. A dress like sister-in-law's, who knows how many poor people it could save? Could sister-in-law return this dress to help them? The store staff couldn't help but scoff. This is a custom-made dress, once completed, it cannot be returned. Even if you don't take it, there's no refund. Moreover, for Miss Lam, it's just an ordinary dress. Lan Chu's face turned pale, her hands gripping the hem of her clothes tightly. I just feel sorry for those who are suffering. I chuckled softly, gesturing for the staff to pack the dress, and looked at Lan Chu, saying, Little Lan truly is someone who's been caught in the rain, and now, even when she's not wet, she still thinks about holding an umbrella for others, doesn't she? Lan Chu nodded humbly. That's right, I just wish there were fewer suffering people in this world. I truly can't be like sister-in-law, who can enjoy such luxuries with peace of mind. I nodded repeatedly. Good idea. Husband, didn't you just give little Lan a gold card with $1 million in the account? We can't let her compassion go to waste. How about donating all that money to charity, to help those in need? Hao always listened to me and nodded immediately. Okay, I'll have someone handle it right away. Lan Chu's face immediately turned pale. She wanted to open her mouth to stop him but was afraid of shattering her saintly image. She could only grit her teeth and say resentfully, Sister-in-law's dress alone costs $1 million. Just reducing a bit would help so many people. Has sister-in-law never thought about that? Still want to be a hypocrite with me? Of course I have. I forgot to tell you, since I was 10, I've had my own charity fund, donating at least $100 million every year. Lan Chu forced a smile. Sister-in-law is truly good. I just don't like to show off, I said sarcastically, feeling even more amused as I watched her distorted face. After that, I carried the dress out of the store in a very relaxed mood, and even stopped by a few other designer stores, swiping my card without hesitation for anything I liked. And Lan Chu? After losing $1 million, she couldn't buy anything now, and could only watch me with eyes red from envy. I thought after that blow, she would settle down a bit. But clearly, I had overestimated her. As soon as I arrived at the Wang family home, the maid told me that Hui Yu had sent me 2 large packages of gifts from abroad. Hui Yu is Hao's younger brother, but he's very close to me. I once helped him successfully start his business, so from then on, he always regarded me as his own sister, often sending me gifts from abroad. But as soon as I entered the house, I saw the gift box on the table had been opened, and some of the jewelry Hui Yu had given me was being worn by Lan Chu. My face darkened, and I quickly approached, asking loudly, Why did you touch my things without permission? Lan Chu protectively clutched the jewelry. Brother Hui sent these to me, why are they yours? I scoffed, holding up the package in front of her. Look, whose name is on the recipient line? Her expression changed slightly, but she still insisted. There are 2 gifts, one must be mine. Based on what? I asked coldly. I've been Brother Hui's close friend since childhood. He knew I was back, so he sent me gifts. Lan Chu loudly defended the gifts. I was too lazy to argue, so I just told the maid beside me. Take everything off her, and put it back as it was. To my surprise, the maid refused. Miss Lam, Miss Chu is so pitiful, maybe one part really is hers? I didn't expect the maid to openly side with her like that. A triumphant look immediately appeared in Lan Chu's eyes. Just then, Hao came home. Lan Chu immediately burst into tears and ran to embrace him. Brother Hao, sister-in-law seems to really hate me. Even the gifts Brother Hui sent me, she wants to take them. Who would have thought that Hao would immediately push her away, frowning as he asked. Hui sent you gifts? Why would he send them to you? After speaking, Hao looked at me, as if afraid I would misunderstand something. I, meanwhile, calmly sat on the sofa, watching Lan Chu's performance. It was a free movie, so why not watch it? Lan Chu lowered her head, looking like a pitiful little wife. Brother Hui and I have known each other since childhood. It's normal for him to send me gifts since he knows I'm back, right? But he doesn't know you're back, Hao said helplessly. Lan Chu's expression stiffened briefly, but she still refused to give up. Even so, it couldn't have been sent to Nin Lam. The jewelry clearly looked expensive. How could she willingly give it up so easily? She was even too lazy to maintain her facade now. I thought to myself, Too bad her acting isn't good enough, anyone can tell she's a low-level green tea girl. Hao started to get annoyed. It's perfectly normal for Hui to send gifts to Nin, why couldn't he? They. Lan Chu was about to argue further. I had seen enough and said with a smile. Whose gift it is, we'll know by calling Hui. A flicker of uneasiness crossed Lan Chu's eyes, but she quickly regained her confidence. Go ahead, call him. She seemed very sure that, based on their childhood connection, Hui Yu wouldn't embarrass her in front of everyone. I'll call Hui. Hao also found the suggestion reasonable and immediately pulled out his phone to call, putting it on speaker. Hui, who are the two gifts you sent for? Hao asked directly. From the other end came a clear male voice. Of course, they're for sister-in-law, has she received them yet? She has, Hao replied. Lan Chu's face became very unsightly, and she immediately interjected loudly. Brother Hui, this is Lan Chu. Do you remember me? It's been so long, when are you coming back to the country? I even prepared a gift for you. Hui Yu said oh, then politely declined. I don't have any plans to return to the country in the near future. Thank you, but there's no need. After that, he happily continued. Brother, is sister-in-law there? Does she like the gifts? There are also 2 cards in the box, each with 5 million, please give them to her to use for shopping. It's a small token from me. Lan Chu's face turned pale, and she gnashed her teeth in anger, especially when she heard about the 2 5 million cards. Her eyes seemed to glow green with envy. Hao hung up and then turned to Lan Chu. Now you understand, right? The gifts were sent to Nin. Despite this, Lan Chu was still unwilling to give up those valuable items. I decisively stepped forward and personally removed the diamond necklace and earrings she was wearing, which belonged to me. She screamed in pain, but I felt no pity whatsoever, and I also conveniently took back the 2 5 million cards. The gifts Hui Yu sent me absolutely could not be touched by someone like her. Lan Chu cried bitter tears, resentfully accusing me. Sister-in-law, don't you like these things? You have so many, why not give me a little? I lightly shook the cards in my hand and coldly smiled. You're right. I don't like you. And if I don't like someone, even if I have more than enough, I won't give it to them. Brother Hao. Lan Chu started to whine, intending to tattle on me to Hao. Hao decisively said. Nin doesn't like you, so don't appear in front of her anymore. Lan Chu was so angry her teeth gnashed, but she couldn't utter a single word. I immediately felt a sense of relief and ease. At this moment, my in-laws came downstairs. Lan Chu was unwilling to give up and immediately adjusted her expression, resorting to subtle insinuations. Aunt and uncle worked so hard to build up their current fortune, but sister-in-law is so extravagant, I'm afraid no amount of money will be enough. Hearing this, my mother-in-law immediately retorted. It would be great if Nin would spend the Wang family's money. Not a single cent of the money we give her has been used, instead, she uses her own money to invest back into our family's businesses. Before I could even open my mouth, Lan Chu's face swelled up at that statement. She didn't know that besides having the richest father in the city, I had lived in luxury since childhood, with endless money to spend. After learning about investments, my money multiplied even more. I never needed to touch a single penny of the Wang family's money. It was just that the Wang family loved giving me money. I chuckled softly, then turned to the maid who had previously sided with Lan Chu. Pack your things, get your pay, and you're dismissed. The maid's face turned pale. Miss Lam, why are you firing me? I raised an eyebrow, smiling faintly. Do I need a reason to fire you? I'm the mistress of this house. Isn't it my decision who stays and works here? The maid immediately turned to plead with my mother-in-law. Madam, I'm always careful with my work, and I've never made a mistake. Miss Lam can't just fire me like this. My mother-in-law's face was stern. Nin is right. Does she need a reason to fire you? Hurry up and pack your things and leave. The maid desperately grabbed my hand, crying and begging. Miss Lam, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have deliberately sided with Miss Chu and said those gifts were hers. I gave a radiant smile, and just softly uttered 2 words. Leave now. Hao pushed the maid away, carefully standing in front of me. I saw Lan Chu's eyes turn red, full of resentment as she looked at me. With that level of skill, she dares to play tricks in front of me? If she weren't so annoying, I really wouldn't bother paying attention. I knew Lan Chu would definitely continue to play her tricks. Looking at her fair, blemish-free hands, suspicion began to rise in my heart. How could someone who had lived in the mountains, tormented for decades, have such smooth hands? I decisively called my father, my voice slightly spoiled. Dad, can you help me investigate the background of that girl named Lan Chu? Of course, I'll have someone investigate right away. Has someone been bullying you? My father's voice was full of affection. I replied proudly. Who would dare bully your daughter? It's just that I find her a bit suspicious. It's better to know for sure. After hanging up, I strolled into the backyard and overheard 2 maids talking, their voices not at all low. That girl, Lan Chu, really doesn't know her place. Someone who was sold, gave birth to 2 illegitimate children, and still dares to dream of stepping in Miss Lam's shoes? Exactly, blindly overconfident. Comparing someone like her to a wealthy young mistress like Miss Lam is like throwing a stone at a wall. Mr. How must be blind to look at her and ignore someone like Miss Lam? Every word was filled with disdain. But I didn't feel sorry for Lan Chu at all. Someone who had truly experienced hardship, if they genuinely wanted to live well, wouldn't they want to bury the past and start anew? Only Lan Chu constantly used her unfortunate past to gain sympathy from others. But when that sympathy clashed with self-interest, her pitiful past became a reason for people to attack her. The previous maid was fired by me for siding with her, and the remaining ones also knew where they stood. Very soon after, I saw a figure rush out, grab the 2 maids by their hair, and yank hard, cursing non-stop. You 2 bitches, daring to badmouth me behind my back? I'll tear your mouths apart. Oh? Was Lan Chu actually fighting? I quickly pulled out my phone to record a video. The 2 maids, upon seeing her, showed no fear and even retorted sarcastically. Done pretending to be a pure lotus now, are we? What did we say wrong? You don't need us to slander you, you're doing a fine job of embarrassing yourself. Lan Chu was so furious she shoved one of the maids hard. You ungrateful dogs. I even gave you gifts, and you dare betray me. You deserve to die. She wasn't pretending anymore, her true nature was clearly exposed to the maids. I shook my head and sighed, giving gifts to curry favor with maids, only Lan Chu would think of such a thing. Who's the ungrateful dog here? The Wang family treats you so well, and you're not grateful, instead, you're eyeing the mistress's position. What are you thinking? With your status, are you worthy? You're not even worthy of polishing Miss Lam's shoes. The 2 maids took turns speaking, unhesitatingly trampling Lan Chu into the mud. Lan Chu was so angry her face turned bright red. As she scuffled with them, she yelled. Shut up. Brother Hao is mine. He's just temporarily infatuated by that bitch Neen Lam. Once I win him back, the first thing I'll do is kick you all out of this house. Her true intentions are finally revealed, she wants to snatch Hao. My face turned cold, and I immediately saved the video I had just recorded. I had people secretly monitor Lan Chu's every move, guarding against her continuing to play tricks. But unexpectedly, Lan Chu had been acting very docile and well-behaved lately. She played the role of a good and obedient daughter perfectly in front of my in-laws, no longer making snide remarks or sarcastic comments as before. Lan Chu also maintained a safe distance from my husband, no longer pretending to be a green tea girl. But the more obedient she acted, the more I dared not lower my guard. I had a feeling that Lan Chu was secretly preparing to make a big move. After all, the venomous words she had blurted out to the maids that day still echoed in my ears. A week later, I returned from the charity fund, and before I even entered the living room, a maid rushed up to me, looking mysterious. "Madam, I saw Miss Chu secretly enter an adult store and buy something." As soon as I heard that, I knew something was wrong. What did she buy? I brushed my hair away from my face, a bad feeling in my gut. "Aphrodisiac," the maid whispered, uttering the two words. I immediately understood. Lan Shu wanted to make a move on Hao. "Where's Hao? Where is he?" I asked, looking around the living room for the two of them as I walked in. "Well, it seems the young master just went out with Miss Chu," the maid stammered, her voice betraying her worry. Clearly, she also sensed something was wrong. "Just now? How long ago, precisely?" I stopped walking, my face turning cold. The maid thought for a moment and then said, "About 20 minutes ago, I think." 20 minutes. I immediately calculated the time. There was still time. I called Hao as I ran outside. "Lan Shu wanted to play tricks on my husband? Not on my watch. My husband isn't an object for just anyone to touch." But the phone kept ringing and ringing, with no one answering. My face grew colder and colder, and I immediately opened the location tracking app on my phone. It was Hao himself who had previously installed the tracking app between us, saying it was in case something happened so we could find each other right away. I never expected to actually use it today. I opened the app and saw that Hao's location was displayed as Yongqi Road, and directly ahead was a famous 5-star hotel. Was their destination that hotel? Thinking of Lan Shu buying an aphrodisiac, I could almost certainly confirm it. I didn't dare to hesitate for another second, immediately took the best supercar from the garage, took a shortcut, and floored the accelerator, speeding directly towards the hotel. I only hoped to stop it in time before things went too far. Please God, let me still be in time. But when I rushed to the hotel as fast as I could, the first thing I saw was Hao's black Maserati parked in the hotel's parking lot. My heart plummeted. A sense of unease and anger began to surge. "Hao, if you disappoint me, I will never forgive you." If he couldn't even see through such cheap tricks from Lan Shu. I didn't dare to think further, leading my bodyguard straight to the floor where Hao was. Because my aura was too strong, no hotel staff dared to stop me. They could only follow behind, their faces full of panic. They were afraid I would cause a real scene. I gestured to the bodyguards to prepare to break down the door. Just then, the hotel room door suddenly opened from the inside. Hao rushed out, his face full of anger. But when he saw me, his anger immediately turned into indignation. He immediately grabbed my hand, nervously explaining, "Neen, why are you here? Listen to me. Lan Shu drugged me, trying to force herself on me. But I managed to escape. Believe me, I'm still innocent, she absolutely didn't touch me." The anger that had been bubbling within me, because of Hao's words, surprisingly cooled down. I pursed my lips and smiled, gently patting his hand. "Looks like you're still salvageable." I saw that his clothes, though a bit disheveled, were still on him. At least this time I didn't need to intervene, he had escaped on his own. Seeing that I wasn't angry, Hao seemed even more aggrieved. "Lan Shu really is sick. She told me you had prepared a surprise and invited me to the hotel to meet you." I felt something was off, but I was afraid that if you really had prepared a surprise and I didn't come, your plan would be ruined, so I followed along. I didn't expect her to give me a drugged drink. I didn't drink it, but then she tried to force herself on me. As he spoke, he shivered as if traumatized. Luckily, I ran in time, otherwise my reputation would have been completely ruined by now. Just then, Lan Shu walked out of the room, her clothes disheveled. Hearing Hao's words, her eyes turned red, and she said as if complaining, "Brother Hao, didn't you once say I was the person you liked most? You were the one who invited me to the hotel, saying you wanted to with me." Hao looked at her with disgust. "If I really invited you, why would I actively run away? Besides, I'm not blind. I have a beautiful wife like Neen at home, why would I choose you instead? My taste isn't that bad." Laughter immediately erupted around us. Lan Shu's face turned red, but she still refused to let go, trying to rush forward and hug Hao. Even though she didn't achieve her goal with How, seeing me here, she knew I must have known everything. As long as she could break up my relationship with How, she wouldn't consider herself defeated. Fortunately, the bodyguards reacted quickly and immediately pulled her away. How was so scared that he hid behind me, not daring to let her touch even a corner of his clothes. Transparent tears streamed down Lan Shu's cheeks. She cried like a pear blossom drenched in rain, twisting the hem of her dress into a rope, her eyes tear-filled as she looked at How. "Brother How, we were closest when we were little. You were the one who said you'd marry me when we grew up, so why did everything change when she appeared? Can't we go back to those childhood days?" But I clearly saw calculation and resentment in her eyes. How sighed, full of disgust. "Those were lines from a role-playing game when we were kids, don't you understand? You guys made me mimic those TV dramas, it wasn't sincere. I've always only seen you as a younger sister. The person I love is my wife, Neen Lam. It was true before, it's true now, and it will always be true. Oh, and now you're not even my sister anymore. I think you really have a mental problem. Neen, you still have the contact number of the director of the psychiatric hospital, right? Call someone to examine her head immediately." How spoke without any regard. Lan Shu's face turned pale from being scolded. This time, she truly burst into tears, sobbing uncontrollably. I took out my phone, and just then received a new message. My gaze towards Lan Shu grew colder and more disdainful. "I'm afraid you won't be admitted to a psychiatric hospital. You should go, somewhere else." "What?" How asked in surprise. Lan Shu also stopped crying, her eyes watching me warily. I didn't beat around the bush, I immediately called the police. After hanging up, I coldly stated, "You should go to the police station for a cup of tea." Lan Shu's face immediately changed, her voice as sharp as a knife. "Neen Lam, what have you done?" How quietly asked me. "Did she commit a crime?" I nodded, opened the investigation results my father had just sent me, and showed them to him. "Lan Shu, it's true that 10 years ago you were sold to the mountains by human traffickers, but not long after, you colluded with them, participating in their trafficking and fraud ring. You went from being a victim to an accomplice, countless young girls and children were harmed by you." My voice grew colder and colder. "If it weren't for you exploiting your identity as a woman to assist them, those girls wouldn't have been so easily deceived. Not long ago, a group of traffickers in the ring was caught, and you escaped, then continuously changed residences to avoid being hunted down. When you saw news about the Wang family, you thought of reuniting with relatives to both conceal your identity and plot to seize property. Lan Shu, you truly disgust me." When I read the investigation results my father sent, I was also stunned. I had suspected Lan Shu wasn't simple, but I never imagined the truth would be so disgusting and cruel. She wasn't just an accomplice to human traffickers, she also had murder charges against her. As for why she came to the Wang family home, it was simply to get How and seize their assets. I truly couldn't believe I had allowed such a venomous snake to live in our house for so long. How looked at Lan Shu with disbelief, followed by rage and disappointment. "Lan Shu, it seems I was complimenting you earlier when I said you had mental problems. Do you know how heartbroken Mother would be if she knew you were like this? She truly loved you like her own daughter." He seemed unable to believe that the little girl who used to follow him, calling brother How, had become like this. Hao's biggest worry was whether my mother-in-law, who had always adored Lan Shu, could bear this truth. But something like this couldn't be hidden. Seeing her true colors exposed, Lan Shu, instead, burst out laughing. "Heartbroken? Back then, I was sold to a poor, remote mountain village, abused by an ugly, disabled old man. Did anyone understand my pain? If I didn't find a way to save myself, was I supposed to live in that trash pit forever, letting people trample on me indefinitely?" I retorted. "Your way of saving yourself was to collude with human traffickers to deceive countless other innocent girls and children? You were once caught in the rain, but you wanted to tear someone else's umbrella to drag them into the downpour with you." Lan Shu spat, contemptuously spraying in my direction. What right does a privileged young lady born with a silver spoon like you have to lecture me? I shrugged, not bothering to argue further with someone like her. Just then, the police arrived, and cold handcuffs clicked shut on Lan Chu's wrists. One of them turned to me and thanked me. "Miss Lam, thank you for helping us apprehend this human trafficker. The criminal syndicate that has existed for so many years has finally been dismantled." The police, after receiving my report, immediately verified and confirmed that Lan Chu was indeed the fugitive they had been pursuing for years. Knowing she had no way to deny it, Lan Chu looked at me with hatred. As she was led past me, she gritted her teeth and hissed, "Neen Lam, don't be too smug too soon. I'll be waiting to see how much more miserable you become than me." I swung my hand and slapped her directly across the face. "You won't get that chance. You'd better start practicing tears behind bars." How anxiously rubbed my hand. "Does it hurt, darling?" Honestly, I'd wanted to give her that slap for a long time. Lan Chu turned to the police and accused me. "She deliberately assaulted me, arrest her." I looked at her with pity. "It seems one slap wasn't enough to make you come to your senses." The police led Lan Chu, who was now screaming hysterically, out of the hotel. Hao wrapped his arm around me protectively, his eyes full of remorse. "Neen, luckily you're smart and saw through her true colors. Otherwise, our entire family would have been fooled by her." I glared at him. "No more Sister Lan or Auntie Lan after this, got it?" Hao quickly vowed. "Absolutely not. If father and mother hadn't told me to pay more attention to her, I wouldn't have bothered." That was truly the truth. The news of Lan Chu's arrest was not concealed, it quickly made it onto the evening news. Before we could even speak, my mother-in-law already knew what had happened, and also knew that Lan Chu had deliberately tried to seduce Hao. She was deeply remorseful and heartbroken. I initially just respected her mother and wanted to compensate her a little, but I never expected to invite a wolf into our home and almost harm our entire family. "Neen, I'm sorry. I caused you to suffer." My mother-in-law took my hand, apologizing sincerely. I smiled generously. "Mother, you can't be blamed for this. You didn't know she was that kind of person." As soon as I finished speaking, I suddenly felt nauseous. I covered my mouth and dry heaved in front of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was startled and panicked, quickly supporting me, then as if something just clicked. "Could it be? Neen, are you pregnant?" I froze. Hao immediately carried me and rushed to the hospital. The test results, I was indeed pregnant, 8 weeks along. The whole family erupted in joy. "This is amazing, I'm going to be a father." Hao was so happy he spun me around. "Mother's going to be a grandmother." My mother-in-law clapped her hands in delight, then anxiously pulled Hao's arm. "Be careful, don't make Neen dizzy." Hao quickly and gently put me down, his eyes filled with nervous attentiveness as he looked at me. The whole family was immersed in the joy of this good news. Only I remained somewhat dazed. Was I really going to be a mother? I wasn't sure I was ready for that. But seeing everyone eagerly anticipating the baby's arrival, a vague sense of expectation gradually welled up within me. My parents also returned immediately, and the entire extended family treated me like a precious treasure, sheltering me every step of the way. Gifts piled up throughout the house, to the point where there was no more room. As for Lan Chu, she was quickly sentenced to life in prison. The rest of her life would pass behind prison bars. And I successfully gave birth to an adorable baby girl, who became the precious gem cherished by the entire family. The end.